Hello.
Hi, thanks for having me on your channel.
Thanks for coming back, even after I poke you all the time like a bear or something. I don't know.
It's true, you do.
Yep. I like to come out of left field.
No left field today, though, because I
No.
know what we're talking about.
Yes.
Maps of Our Spectacular Bodies by Maddie Mortimer.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
So, whew. So this is a book with I guess it examines the central family, but I would say predominantly a mother-daughter relationship in which the mother is diagnosed with cancer, and it is a dual narrative, basically timeline in which we examine her past and her present leading up to the future, as to whether or not whatever progresses with the diagnosis, prognosis, etc. of it.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
a
And it's
fair?
also,
Hmm?
well, it's all, yes, it's mother daughter relationships, but it's twofold because it's about Leah, who has cancer, and her relationship with her mother. And it's also about Leah's relationship with her daughter.
Yeah.
And so you get mother daughter relationships in two different ways. And yeah, and then also the book has some experimental parts and voices to the internal body. Like she gives a voice to the internal parts of the body, which add another textual layer to the whole story. So,
Yes. And would you describe the structure? Because so I have consumed it solely on audio. Shelley has
mhm.
consumed it on both, more or less.
I have pulled up the text. I didn't realize that my library had the book
Oh,
on like e-reader, but I was already listening to it and reading something else. So
mhm.
at times I would pull it up and I would read different sections just to see what it looked like. So I have seen the text, but I haven't necessarily like I don't think I would have said that I consumed it that way. Didn't read it. I
Okay.
really listened to it.
Okay. And my experience being solely on audio, I usually describe it as a vignette type format in which it's pretty flighty, and you've got to reorient yourself pretty often in the text. And so I don't know exactly how long scenes would last. I think it's varied quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, part of it is sort of this, I don't know, almost a mystery for me where I'm trying to figure out why the form and the structure is like this, and if it, does anything for me, which it did. Loved it. And so I found it always engaging because I think it would be very easy to kind of get lost if you like it's an audiobook you have to pay attention to. There's not It's not one that I would do while doing something other than dishes or something like that. Yeah, or just out for a walk would be perfect. You just have to really get in there, because there's so much going on. That just really worked for me. And there's two narrators, both of whom are fantastic, I think. And again, you have to pay attention because they are not prescribed only specific roles. They take on different roles within a chapter, that play with
Mm-hmm.
each other or against each other in some ways. And so I think that can be another source of confusion if it was solely through audio. But yeah, this was a me experience. I loved everything about it. I loved the plot. I loved the characterization. I loved the characters themselves. I loved the names of the characters. I didn't really care about that, but
Yeah,
but
yeah.
everything about it was just my catnip. Yeah, and so I'm very curious to see what the experience will be like on physical, and maybe I'll
Mm-hmm.
do one of those dual experiences with audio and physical at the same time or something.
Yeah.
Um, but that will be in the future. But as it stands, favorite Booker novel
Yes.
ever of the year.
Yes. Okay. So a lot of this worked for me in that so Leah right off the bat is it isn't said that her cancer returns, I believe. Or she, it's just she has terminal cancer. I think that's the best way to put it. And she is doesn't have a great relationship with her parents, primarily her mother, who was very religious. And she grew up in a very like oppressively religious household, Leah did. And that her childhood or her sort of later adolescence and her more formative years were really influenced by a friend slash lover that was also a family friend. And the way that the tension of this lover kind of bumps up against her mother, Leah's mother. And then a lot of I think the second half of the novel, that was kind of like the first half, you're sort of discovering Leah's past. In the second half, I think she's working to navigate to a place of like self-forgiveness and a place where she can be at peace with herself, which I thought was really fascinating. And so as this story kind of unfolds, the way the plot was unfolding really, really worked for me. I was really invested in like the present, her being sick, her Leah trying to build a better relationship with her own daughter during this time where her daughter is trying to get grown in a way. And and then also just thinking about her past and trying to contextualize that, especially at the end of her life.
Yeah. And I found, so the characterization is some of my favorite, just because there's really at the heart of it contradictory things that both of them hold, almost mutually exclusive things that all of the people basically had and struggle with and struggle through, and then kind of have to choose a path basically. And I find that to be the mark of really good characterization, is when somebody that is wholly human holding contradictory, mutually exclusive ideas that they have to navigate in some way, and often kind of like present false selves to other people. It's like code switching, where like I believe this set of things with this person and this set of things with another. They're set in certain patterns, some from childhood, some from just the way that they've developed as adults. And at some point you have to like rectify those things, and dying does that. So
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I was going to mention that the author, Maddie Mortimer, one of the most impressive things is that she's 19. And I thought that was almost incredible. Like, it was just like incredible that she wrote something that had such powerful themes and was so she's writing this mother who's dying, and I'm like, how would she even know? Because she's 19. But I know that you watched an interview with her, so did that help contextualize some of it?
Yeah, she was really great at stating her influences, especially unconventional fiction. She said one of her favorite authors was the House of Leaves guy, Daniel Danielewski, I think, something like that. This is
something like that.
Yeah. And cited a whole bunch of other unconventional fiction that sort of paved the way. So she said that she didn't even have that much oversight as from the publisher. They pretty much gave her carte blanche to do, whatever she wanted, or blanche to do whatever she wanted. And they were very supportive. And the reason why she was able to do that was from the commercial successes of those unconventional texts. Yeah. And then she also had her own personal struggle with her mother being diagnosed in the exact same way and going through that, which I think you can see in the texts. Like it feels like a real, true experience sort of deal, especially near the end. And she talks about how initially people took the internal voice of Leah as merely the cancer, but as the story progresses, it's important to show that it gets away from that prescription, because that's just far too messy and singular, basically, to get into.
Because it's maps of our spectacular bodies, but I mean, she's talking about a whole bunch of she gives voice to many different parts of the body, and cancer is one of the many voices from the internal body that she gives voice to. One of which was like, this is how Leah feels when she is lying, but she won't tell herself that she is lying. And it's like her stomach is clenching or something. But so it's not just a voice of cancer in her body, which I think would be kind of gimmicky. It's really like the way her body is reacting and the way that her external life is affecting her body.
Well, it's also an expression of her subjective self. So like Maddie Mortimer had said that that voice is actually the poetic, subjective lens of Leah about her internal body expressing itself like externally with the page, basically. So what starts out as, yeah, sort of gimmicky cancer stuff becomes actually another way of analyzing something with dissonance, in which her body knows things about her that Leah simply hasn't realized or will never come to understand about herself. And those things also have to become rectified with her other selves near the end.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought overall the themes were about relationships and love and forgiveness and growing into oneself, which I thought were all like pretty great. I really liked it. Yeah, these really kind of big universal themes that I thought were just really powerful. And yeah, I think one for me, and I know this may be like, I don't know. Like, I'm really still impressed by the fact that she's 19 and she was able to write something that was just so well done.
Yeah, I think it's an astounding debut. And so I don't know, like it'll be interesting to see what she comes out with next and how it stacks up. Like, there's always that people saying people have one story to tell or whatever, and then they explore that for the rest of their career. But a lot of different authors develop in a lot of different ways. So I think she's in a very fruitful place at the moment, I think.
Yeah, I definitely want to know what she's going to come up with next. I actually would be curious to see if her next novel, if I would be really interested to see what her writing would be like without experimentation, because parts of the experimentation didn't work for me super well. Because there were times where I was like, what is happening? And so I'd have to go back in the audio and I'd be like, focus, like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, so those, not that I found it frustrating. I do like books that challenge me, but there were parts where I was just like, you must, like, I have to really kind of get in there and like focus on this.
I pretty much had to just be, well, I didn't have to, but I just sat there and listened to it as if I was reading, basically, which is something I barely ever had to do with an audiobook. Like, it's fairly intricate and demanding of intention and like a high cognitive load novel, basically.
Yeah. And again, I think it would be really interesting to pick this up in physical form.
Yeah.
I despise reading on my iPad, which is the only way I would have had to read it. So I didn't want to, but if I could get like a physical book of this, I think it would also render a very interesting experience. And I wonder if it would be as strong.
Yeah.
Or if it would be stronger. I don't know. Like, I'm kind of like open to either. So
yeah, she's also a poet, and I think that really comes through in the prose work as well. I found it very poetic and high on description, granular, physicality, choreography, and basically, like everything that I like about writing. She was like, here you go. Which will be a very
she served it. She was like, here you go on a platter, just choose.
Yeah. And so that's a very subjective thing. Some people will just resonate with that kind of writing and others won't. But for me, I was just, right from the first like chapter, I was just like, this is my day today. I will not stop.
Right. Yeah, it was a really good experience. The narrators were fantastic. They were really, really well voiced. And I thought the way that the production was put together, because the narrators get different sections and they play off each other, I thought that was just fantastic. The whole production was great, and it was good for it was really good for an experimental book like this.
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. I
Is there
think
anything else?
I don't think so. I think let's dip out while we're on a high note.
I know. Okay. All right. So thanks for having me on your channel.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And we have a short list of the books, Booker books coming at the very moment that this might come up, or soon. Pay attention. It's coming. It's on Shelley's channel, and this book will
Yep.
be featured.
Yes, it will be.
Okay,
Okay.
bye.
Bye.